Let's move it within the division to the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Ryan, dude, all those years in ATL, they booted him, full rebuild going on over there. But the Colts have the pieces in place to contend for a title. I don't necessarily think Matt Ryan does that for them, but he certainly makes them relevant nonetheless, especially if he can revitalize himself. Given his performance last year, it was not so, spectacular. But let's talk about it. We were all kind of took a big gasp when, Indy was in search of their next quarterback. What happens to Michael Pittman? There were some people out there, including myself, dude, because I love Jonathan Taylor. He's the number one overall pick next year. I think it's safe to say. But if we would have dragged this on and the potential for them to get a lesser known quarterback, whether it might have been like Baker or something, it's just like sometimes that kind of stuff. Like, look at CMC. Now, injuries did him in, so it's a little different. But when you look at these massive talents who don't have the QB play, those teams are going to stack the box. Then you get worried. But it seems like Matt Ryan, relieves that pressure a little bit. It saves guys like Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if Matt Ryan is someone that's going to be fantasy relevant next year, but I think he keeps the relevant key fantasy players for the Titans relevant. Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. What do you guys think?
You just hit the nail on the head right there, right? Matt Ryan is not going to be fantasy relevant, but he's going to help Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor. And it's important to remember, you don't have to have a fantasy relevant quarterback to have fantasy relevant players, right? Jimmy Garoppolo was absolutely terrible. You weren't starting him in fantasy last year, but you had Debo, Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell, George Kittle that were all almost must starts. Arguably not Ayuk, but the other three for sure. I love this team in terms of real football, but they're just so run heavy, man, that like Michael Pittman Jr., like I want to be more excited about him, but I'm not. And it just kind of feels like maybe it's a slight upgrade for him more than I want to feel like it should be. Like this doesn't put him in like a top 15 conversation for me, but he's definitely in that wide receiver 2 conversation now.
Yeah, I mean, I like Pittman's just as a natural player. It doesn't move the needle. I think it gets it a little bit better, but not enough for me to care anymore. It's not like he got paired up with Aaron Rodgers or anything, but Matt Ryan's a little bit better. I like it for the Colts because this quarterback, like even less than Wentz, Ryan's not vulturing any touchdowns off the goal line runs. You know what I mean? Like he's not sneaking in. So that will go to JT. I don't think it hurts his red zone play at all. And Pittman, he's just going to be the number one over there. So I like it no matter what. Better than Drew Lock.
Well, I am glitching out all over the place, but I assume you guys got your points across. Jacob, the head honcho, sends the flames. He thinks we're doing good. Jacob, tell Justin to be better at timestamps. Thanks, Jacob, for stopping by.
My bad. I'm not good at it. It's not my job. I suck at it.
Anyways, we got all we talked about, Matt Ryan.